Welcome to the USA, the land of the free, the beacon of democracy, where everyone has a voice in how their country is run. Surely, a country that prides itself with its democracy like this wouldn't have undemocratic practices. It does. As a part of American politics, states gain the rights to redraw their districts due to how the electoral college system works. When a state gains, or loses, seats in the House of Representatives every 10 years, they have to increase or decrease the number of congressional districts the state has, and that involves redrawing the districts. Having this practice of redrawing districts makes sense if it weren't for the practice of gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is the act of redrawing the state districts in a way that benefits them politically. This is usually done by making sure that a district has just enough of their political party to make sure that that district gets their political party's legislative elected. Gerrymandering is one of the most undemocratic acts in American politics, as it plays with geographical locations in an unusual way, making districts seem like a political game rather than a way to accurately represent an area. Before getting deep into this, it is important to know the rules of redistricting, what is allowed and what is not. According to the Congressional Research Service, legal redistricting must have population equality and racial and language minority protections. Population equality means that all districts within a state must have approximately the same population. Racial and language minority protections means that as part of the Voting Rights Act, redistricting should not reduce or dilute minority vote strength. There are also other rules that only a handful of states enact, such as compactness and contiguity, political competition, and etc. But out of all of those states, Illinois does not enact any one of them. Illinois is one of those states where gerrymandering is a huge problem. A quick look at the Illinois Congressional District map can show how weirdly shaped Illinois districts are. A very clear example of this would be Illinois' current 13th district. The district is very long and narrow, going from the east of St. Louis all the way to Champaign. Naturally, this does not look like a good border, especially when considering that it makes the 15th district wrap around it. It also does not look like a normal geographical border, as it also does not represent the area accurately. It creates a district that does not divide the land evenly, and it unsurprisingly goes through big cities such as Springfield and Champaign. This is clearly gerrymandering and was done to help the Democratic Party gain one more seat in the House over the Republicans. Gerrymandering goes against the American ideals of democracy, as they are using another method to try and manipulate public opinion in a way that keeps them in power, rather than trying to win in the traditional and fair way. According to the United Nations, democracy provides an environment that respects human rights and fundamental freedoms, and in which the freely expressed will of the people is exercised. With gerrymandering, the will of the people cannot be exercised, as the elected officials are trying to ignore a significant amount of people by not giving them votes that matter. Normally in gerrymandered states, the number of seats a party gets is not proportional to the amount of actual votes. A great example of this is in the state of Illinois. As of the last gubernatorial election, which was 2022, the Democratic Party won with 54.9% of the popular vote. In 2022, the Democratic Party had 14 out of 17 seats in the House of Representatives, which is approximately 82% of the House seats. It is incredibly clear that there is a big difference between the actual popular vote and the projected representation in the House. This shows a huge disconnect, as people are not properly represented due to gerrymandering. It can even cause people to not participate in the political process, as some might feel that their efforts are meaningless, as the people in power are trying to make their efforts meaningless. There needs to be a change for the way states redistrict their lands, especially in Illinois, as the practice of gerrymandering should not be able to continue. There have been many court cases as of recently which try to combat the gerrymandering of state legislatures. One of note is from the 2021 redistricting cycle in Oregon, where the court appropriately rejected the claims, but it revealed serious shortcomings in the legal framework governing the judicial review of redistricting plans in the state. The courts realized how they have the means to strike down a possibly biased map, but they do not have the tools to identify them. With this, it is important that a system is established in which it would be possible to know whether a map is gerrymandered or not, or perhaps alternatively, change who is able to draw the districts in a state. There are many ways to combat gerrymandering in Illinois, but what is likely the most effective is having redistricting commissions. These are bodies that are not part of the legislative body of government, which sole purpose is to redraw the districts in a non-partisan way. According to the Congressional Research Service, 11 out of 44 that were apportioned multiple House seats has some form of redistricting commission that primarily draws the districts. This should allow for unbiased districts which do not favor one party over the other, which therefore allows for better representation compared to districts that are gerrymandered. Now, a problem that may be faced with redistricting commissions is that they might fall into doing the same things the legislatives do. For example, they may accept lobbying, be biased towards one party, be less transparent than normal, or even have legislatives be in the commissions. This could arguably be fixed by having restrictions in the committees, which most states that have them are already imposing, such as not affiliated with a political party, not running for office, having equal numbers from both parties, publication of the meetings, using public opinions when drawing, and etc. That way, we can ensure that the people who draw the districts are able to make districts that can accurately represent the people and their regions. Undoubtedly, there will be some scenarios when the number of seats in the popular vote may not align themselves correctly, and there may be a huge gap. But it is important to consider that the chance of this happening is decreased as the people would be drawing the districts, not the people in power who have an incentive to stay in power. Gerrymandering is a horrible stain on American politics, as it is undemocratic and fairly tyrannical. It does not allow for proper representation of the people, and all it does is help the ruling party stay in power as they manipulate the system in their favor. It is very clear that gerrymandering needs to be removed, regardless of which party it is in power, as both should not be able to stay in power by playing the system, and they should both win by fair game. Gerrymandering also discourages people from voicing themselves, which would not allow for the goal of democracy in which the will of the people is exercised. It is very important that Illinois changes the way districts are drawn, as it is one of the worst offenders in terms of gerrymandering. One method of doing this is to change the people who get to draw the districts. A redistricting committee would allow the people to take back the power from the legislatives, and allow for full representation in the government. There are many other options for removing gerrymandering, but having a redistricting committee is likely the best one, and it has been tried by other states with better reputations.